Welcome to this episode of Consider It Blacklit. I am Kim, your host, and for those of you tuning in for the first time, Consider It Blacklit highlights films, television programs, and stage plays that feature African Americans both up front and behind the scene. We also discuss social issues as it relates to some of these programs and how they may or may not impact our communities. So thank you for tuning in, and we hope you continue to tune in each week. Today, it is my pleasure to have the producing team, the writer and director of For Little Girls Who Are Afraid to Speak. Lily has a story to tell, a poetic story about the harsh reality of things she can't unhear, about the trauma of things she can't unfeel, or murders she can't unsee, and devastating 300-year-old truths, all buried in Augusttown. When she wakes up in the in-between, she meets her great-grandmother, August, who has been stuck in the same purgatory since 1716. Now, suddenly, as past and present Jamaica collide, a precious Lily must outsmart the rules of life's balance when she solicits August's help in leading her mother to her smoking gun before it's too late. Now, all of this is all of what I like. So I had to okay. So let me introduce you to who I have here. I'll start with Ano Okero, who is the writer-director.
Hello.
We have executive producers, Nikoa Evans, Charles Hayes, and Yolanda Lewis-Ragland.
Yes.
Am I saying that correctly?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Welcome, guys. I was so excited. Like I know Nikoa, and I saw her post some things on social media, and I was like, what is this? Okay. And I read the synopsis, and the more I researched, I was like, okay, I want you guys to come on the show and talk about it. So let's start off by going around and telling us about yourselves. Like, what do you do in your real life? And also how you became involved with this project. So I'm going to start with Nikoa.
Okay. Well, I wear a couple of hats. I am an entrepreneur, so I'm a co-owner of a restaurant here in Harlem called Ruby's Vintage, as well as another one called Sexy Taco. So I've been an entrepreneur for almost 20 years with multiple businesses here. I also am a co-founder and executive director of an organization called Harlem Heart to Park, which is essentially an agency that represents over 250 businesses here in Harlem, entrepreneurs. And I am a strategist. I produce the strategic initiatives designed to support those businesses. So I do a lot of strategic consulting for entrepreneurs, for brands, and for communities. I became involved in this project because I am a longtime friend of Ano. We have actually worked together and consulted on projects together many years ago, and have always been a fan of just his creative genius. And so at some point I knew we were going to work together again. And we have worked together recently with the Black Lives Matter mural that we did in Harlem. I spearheaded that effort, and on Ano's team was our media team for that. And so just in working together and creating that effort and the documentary that he is currently in post-production on for that effort, it was a natural progression.
Amazing. Ano, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How
Tell
are
the
you?
audience about you.
Well, I'm Ano Okero. I am a writer, director, producer. I'm the founder of New Kingston Media. I run that with Charles. We specialize on Black and Brown content as it relates to media and also film content. And so we're kind of in this new sort of phase where we're really looking at entertainment technology very, very seriously. I came to New York as a performer, and I did a lot of that. I did a bunch of shows. When I realized that I wanted to write more full-time, everything just sort of shifted. I'm currently, while running my company, doing the screenwriting MA program at Goldsmiths in London. So I don't sleep. It's very, very intense. I'm one of three Black people in a cohort of about 23, 24, and it's very, very fulfilling. I love it. I'm growing, and I get to collaborate with Nikoa and Charles and Yolanda. And we're really great together, and I'm really excited to be able to you know, walk with them as we nurture how this comes to life.
Oh, amazing. Charles.
Hi, my name is Charles Hayes. I am an independent TV, film, and theater producer. I've been in New York for about 8 or 9 years at this point, and I've always been working towards producing content. Ano and I met years ago and reconnected after a little bit of time away. And, he told me his dream of writing. And so we kind of just started talking about stories. We started developing different ideas, and he is a idea generator, let me say. And so we just kind of jumped into that process, and co-founder of New Kingston Media as well. So, I wear a bunch of hats, but I'm all about content and producing and kind of, allowing people to come into our world.
Great, great. Yolanda.
Okay, well, I think I am obviously the oddest member of this. I have no experience with film other than watching several that I love, and so I could consider myself a critic. But I'm actually a physician. I'm a pediatrician. I work here in Washington, D.C., but I'm a community physician. I've been working in communities and building communities and really dealing with the health and wellness of Black and Brown communities for years. Besides my work at Children's National Hospital, what I do in sort of my spare time, which if you know me, you know I don't have much, but I have several other hats. And one of them is that I work with mission groups, and I've been to several countries, and Jamaica is one of them, and I've been a pediatrician with a mission for about 10 or 12 years now. And I'm the sole pediatrician. There's about 5 or 6 docs, and when we're there, we service up to 500 people within like 3 to 4 days. And it's really, difficult because people don't have access. And so I'm sort of the only person they see for the whole year for their physicals. And the things that I've experienced is working with young girls who had to sort of report things to me when it came to violence, personal or domestic violence, or things that had happened in their homes that they weren't willing to tell anyone else, and found it, to be really difficult, and just had to help them through that process. And so my creative side, just very excited to be invited. We as professionals don't get invited into these types of spaces very often. And so what I love is Ano, this visionary, knows one of my best friends who's also a visionary, saw this synergy between us. And so I'm just so excited to be involved. So I bring, sort of this information, hands-on practical sort of information about how the process really sort of unfolds with trauma in these communities when it comes to situations like this. And so there's this authenticity for having this physician, this pediatrician who's actually worked in this area. And so I really applaud them for embracing that and understanding that that's important.
Well, I applaud them too. I applaud all of you guys. So, Ano, was this based on a true story? And if it was, what was the story around it that inspired you to write this particular script?
Well, it's definitely inspired by very true events. I am born and raised in Jamaica. I'm from Augustown. I was a child performer, and there are many things that children performers go through that we're not always willing to talk about. I think I spent many years in denial about the fact that at some point in my experience, I was brutally raped. But when it came closer to home, with a very close family member, I realized that I had to do things differently, and that I had this very, very important way of bringing things to life in ways that people can like digest a lot more easier. Um, I found as a child performer, when talking about topical issues, it was easy to communicate them with music and dance. And so I decided, transitioning into full-time filmmaker, that I wanted my first projects to be a two-part retrospective on rape in American culture, as it may relate to either America here in the United States or the Americas in the Caribbean and Latin America. And I wanted to start with For Little Girls Who Are Afraid to Speak. And it just kind of worked with what I had, what I knew. And what was really intense about the experience is that as I delved deeper into it, legitimately all of my girlfriends were admitting about the different ways they were either abused or harassed. And it's almost like I opened up this Pandora's box. And I was not ready for it, honestly. And I realized that the work was much bigger than me, that this vehicle that we are actually creating is so universal on so many levels. And when you look at statistics, 1 in 3 women are raped or brutalized every day. But when you look on the other end, it's 1 in 6 men that's reported. You know what I mean? And a lot of these are children. So that's really how all of this was born. It's a TV series, actually. It's a limited series. It's 6 parts. And it's rich. It's my Jamaican culture. It's all the things I've learned as an artist, mixed in with all the things I learned about my Afro-Jamaican culture and, both past and present Jamaica and how that really collides. It's a very, very rich heritage that I'm from. It's not just reggae music. The reggae music comes from somewhere much deeper. And I get to explore that in this. So I'm excited about that.
Wow, it sounds fascinating. So talk about at what stage of the project are you in? Because you're not completed yet, correct?
No, we're in pre-production. I mean, when we launched at the consulate earlier this year, we were actually getting ready to go jump to Jamaica and start pre-production. The pandemic has changed so much. And right now we're actively in pre-production, and we wanted to film in January, but it's looking more like April based on what is unfolding.
So let's talk a little bit more about the script because I want everybody to be as excited about it as I am. Like, what genre would you call this? Because you mentioned 1716, you mentioned purgatory, merging two worlds. Like, how would you describe the genre of this particular story?
I would actually, I'm gonna go very new, and I'm gonna actually call it a contemporary Jamaican duppy story. That's
Okay.
part thriller, part crime story.
Okay. Love it. Love it. You guys had, you're in pre-production and I saw that you had a lot of actors attached to it, a lot of accomplished actors. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about who is attached to the project?
So it's been a process as well in terms of thinking through who can embody these roles and who can elevate the project to another level. We ultimately want people that can come in and make it their own, but also understand the history behind what we're presenting and the urgency of it. I think one of my favorites is Tifa, who is a dance hall queen from Jamaica who, came on board in January and just kind of started jumping at us with ideas of ways that we could get this out there, people that we could be connected to. And she's, just been a godsend in that regard. And I'm not in the dance hall scene, so I wasn't really aware of her prior to this, but to feel her spirit and her energy come and be a part of this has been really great, really helpful for us. We also have a couple, an actor that's been in Game of Thrones, and that's been on a couple different TV series and things of that nature. So we're excited about the lineup.
Marcus James was White Rat. He's one of the Unsullied on Game of Thrones. There's Luke Forbes, who was in Crown Heights and on the Blacklist. We also have a few of the more popular Jamaican actors that are that have broken out on the scene that are in Sprinter, or just some of the newer programs that you guys are seeing right now. Or Lily is, not quite 12.
Being a part of the project, and there seems to be so many messages in there, what would you like the audience to take away from it after they see it, after it's completed and they see it? What do you want them to leave with?
I think that just really understanding the intricacies of family, understanding the intricacies of just the betrayal that sometimes it's we as women. So I'll just start with me as a woman and a mother of 2 daughters, and really recognizing and understanding that there's an expectation of us when we come into this world without defenses, and that's one of the things that pulls on me as a pediatrician, right? That I am the voice for these little people who can't speak for themselves, and that we're charged to nurture them. We're charged to protect them. We're charged to grow them up so that they can be strong and resilient and make an impact on the world, right? Like all of these people here on this interview here, most of us have somehow had someone sort of do that for us in our families. And I think in this film, just recognizing how those women were failed. The culture itself needs to recognize, and we, meaning America, Jamaica, Caribbean, all of us as Black people, as Black and brown people, really are charged to protect and care for one another. And so I think what I love about the film is that it just really, your heart is like in, turmoil about how the family and how the culture sort of failed these women. And I think just recognizing that we need to step up in our culture and teach our boys and our men how to respect and love and honor, and teach our women and our girls how to demand that.
Yeah, for me, I have a daughter as well. And I know when I was reading the story, the little girl definitely made me think of my daughter Zuri, who, Lily is a math genius. She's got sort of a, she's got a bright child. There's a confidence about her, et cetera, which, makes me think of my daughter quite often. And I felt like through the story, like Yolanda said, we are charged with, we're raising women, and we're helping them identify their voice, and having the confidence to express that voice. And so throughout the story, just as Yolanda mentioned, the points at which the support wasn't there, but ultimately to see through the story that this little girl was able to bring, the story full circle. I feel like the heroine in her is one that I want people to see and recognize that, sometimes they say through the mouths of babes, right? You learn and you hear. So I hope that when people see the story, learn about these characters, and kind of like Yolanda said, the fabric of the communities and the cultures that allow for these things to happen. But sometimes it's that young voice that people aren't listening to, that is the one that we should and can potentially break the cycle. And so she's a superhero in this story, and I see that as someone that my daughter would relate to very well. So I just think it's brilliant in the way that it does that, because it's emotional, but it's also heroic and just beautiful. I mean, there's so many facets to the story that will kind of take you on this journey, and that's going to be really important for people to feel invested. It's a traumatic story,
Yeah,
but it's beautiful and emotional and funny, and it takes you on every emotion, the journey, and so it's well crafted to make the point and have it hit hard, but it releases the tension where it's needed, because it's a lot. And so it's very expertly sequenced so that you get a moment to exhale, and then it takes you right back to that moment to exhale. And that's the genius of the writing.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not just good because you guys think it's good. It's also won some awards and got some honorable mentions. Why don't you tell the audience about some of that?
This is where he gets bashed.
Yeah. Go ahead. I know you know it.
Okay, so the big thing this year was that we were actually part of the top 10 in drama finalists of the creative screenwriting contest. And, they were looking at different genres. And, to really just sort of like put people up in drama categories for the first time, it's very, very challenging thing to do. And, a lot of it is written in my dialect. And I think to be considered was just a really, really big thing. So I called and I called Nikoa, I called Charles, I called Yolanda. I was like, guys, guess what? Guess what? So that felt good. We've also been semifinalists in other screenwriting contests. There are a few. So we feel good about where we're going.
One of the reasons, usually I don't have people on my show unless they have a finished product, but I thought it was important to share with the audience what a process is when you have a really good script. And I want people to get encouragement from that. So why don't you guys go around and tell something special, exciting about the project to get people like, okay, I can't wait to see this. And I'm going to start with Nikoa first.
I am learning who many of these characters are, actors are, and I was watching a documentary that was recently on, I think, Netflix, called Enslaved. It was Sam Jackson. And there was one of the episodes where they were filming in Jamaica and was talking about the roots. And they had him on, he's a musician, and he was performing it. So I'm watching him and he's talking about who he is. And then I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, I think that's the gentleman that's in the deck that we have for Little Girls. And I'm going back and forth. And then I emailed Ano and I was like, is this the guy? And he said, yes, because he's amazing. And I just was like, wow, I had no idea this was one of the people involved. So, what's exciting to me is the caliber of the talent. And it is people that we know but didn't know, and so like I said, there was that fan moment for me that I thought, my God, I get to work with this individual. I'm sitting here watching him right now, and had no idea. So it was like a nice kind of treat for me. I had signed on to the project just because of the merit of it, but just to note that, I was like, okay, so that's a bonus, this incredible cast. So that was that's something to get really excited about, because the talent that is a part of the project is very accomplished. And both just sort of as actors, performers, but truly, from the community and the culture. So I think just the genre of the film, and then being a story from Jamaica, which you don't see a lot of content around these other cultural, from the diaspora. And so, like Anna said, it's so rich with that, like the dialect just immediately transports you. Like the first sentence, when you're hearing the character speak, you are transported. And so then to have the talent that is going to really bring this to life in a way where it's going to be an experience where I think people that see the film or see the series, they're just going to feel like they have truly been able to kind of step into a culture that they may not know a whole lot about, because you see a very one-sided perspective, right, of Jamaican culture. Like Anna said, it's not just reggae, right? There's so much.
Yolanda, what about you?
Yeah, so First of all, I'm excited by so much of the project, but I'm actually going to talk about something that might be, you know, a little different. I'm going to talk about the opportunity for us to support us, right? So we're in the beginning of this process. And so I'm actually really excited that you caught us in the process, because this is the time where we're inviting others to really see the talent that is in our community, and to figure out ways. And what COVID, I think, has done is it's exposed so much of the vulnerabilities of who we are and where we are, and how we've sort of been, you know, needing or seemingly needing outside, you know, sources to take us to certain levels. And what we're finding is we have so much talent, like literally like right there in Harlem, you know, right here in DC. We're finding and we're spotlighting all of this, you know, as this medical professional who would never be invited into this very creative space. So exciting. And it's a time to really reach out to others who would not necessarily or normally be invited into a space like this. And so this is such a great time. And this is really the momentum that we're sort of stepping into. So I'm excited about really just showcasing who we are, showcasing what we have, showcasing what we do, these this amazing writing, these amazing actors, and then our ability to fund each other and lift each other up. So going into corporate America, Black and brown faces who are able to fund this as a project and be able to say, yes, I did that. Yes, I was a part of that. Yes, I pushed this narrative. And so I'm excited about getting the community on a larger scale involved in this process, who just would not normally be invited. So.
Well, I'm excited. We're running out of time, guys, but I do want someone to tell our audience if they wanted to find out more about this project or even how to get involved, where would they go?
They would go on the website at www.forlittlegirlswhoareafraidtospeak.com. Social media handles are at For Little Girls Who Are Afraid. That's generally where we are.
Now you guys know where to find them. I'm gonna post it up on the screen so you can write it down if you missed it. And until next week, consider yourself Blacklit. Thank you.